Steelers Nation, it is time for another episode of the Steel City Insider Podcast, episode number 123. We're going to talk all about the Steelers' victory over the Falcons. But first, let us introduce today's guest, Chris Hoke, two-time Super Bowl champion with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you can catch him Thursdays, 11 to 12 on The Fan and doing the Steelers post-game show. Chris, welcome to the show. How you doing?
Man, it's great to be with you guys, man. I appreciate you, Jeremy. Thanks for what an intro, right? 2 times. Who can say that? Not many people can say 2-time Super Bowl champion. I feel blessed.
Do you wear your rings, Hokey?
I do. They're right here above my desk, man. I should show you guys, but I wear them from time to time. You know, I'll tell you this, Wex. I was at an alumni dinner 6 months ago, right? And it was so interesting. And I'm there with some greats. Right, I'm there with some guys that really have played this game. Not the guys in the 70s. You know, those guys. I think there might have been 1 or 2 of those guys there. But I was, of all these guys, I think Pouncey was there. I had 2 Super Bowl rings, and there's a lot of guys that don't. I was one of, like, other than that was the 70s guys. I was the only guy that played during that was there that had 2 Super Bowl rings, and I thought, dude, I'm super blessed, man. Like, a lot of these guys had 1 or none. And to have 2 Super Bowl rings with this awesome organization, it's been such a blessing.
Well, weren't you like 114-1 as a starter?
115-1. 115. No. I remember it was a lot of that was because of that 2004 season, right? I mean, I came into the lineup. Casey got hurt. We knocked off 11 wins in a row. We won the first round of the playoffs, and we lost the Patriots in the AFC Championship game. But then I came back and we only lost 1 game when I was a starter. Yeah. And that was that game out in Oakland against the Raiders. If you remember that game, Wex, right? I mean, we held them to 97 yards total offense. Yeah. Remember that?
Yep. I remember it because you won't let me forget it.
Heck no, I won't let you forget it. Absolutely not, man, because we should have won. I mean, defensively, we played lights out. And I think Ben threw like a pick 6, fumble, return for a touchdown. They scored points in the oddest way. And we ended up losing that game, but they didn't have over 100 yards of total offense.
Well, I tell you what, in Dick LeBeau's new book, was it Legendary?
Yeah.
Legendary? Yeah. You're going to like what he has to say about you, Hokey. I mean, That was no fluke that you guys won with you playing. He really loved you as a player.
No, I love him as a man. He was such a great coach. He transformed my career. He really did. When he came in, because I was a guy that was just trying to find a way to fit in. I didn't have a lot of confidence. I struggled with that my first couple of years. And here comes Coach LeBeau. And I'll tell you, if you don't mind me sharing a quick story about that. I mean, listen, it was tough, man. I mean, I struggled with the first defensive coordinator. I really like him now, but I struggled at the time with him. He was a little rough and tough, and I could probably write a book about that. But so I come into my 4th year, and we're in OTAs, right? And we call this play, it's called tight close zebra zone Y. Now it's a play where we play the weak side A gap, Casey and I, the nose tackles, right? If it's a run, we sit in there, we play the A gap, and we lock down and we play our gap. Pass, I drop to the weak hook. And so it was a draw. Now I step in there, I read pass because the center writes pass. I got out of there a little bit too quick. I started to drop, and then as I was dropping, here comes the center with me. I went, oh crap. I go, I freaking misread this thing, right? So I start dropping, and then he blocks me, and I'm thinking, I'm going to get crushed, Wex. I thought, dude, I'm thinking like Tim Lewis time. I'm going to get crushed here. And so LeBeau comes up to me in the huddle.
Chris, let me interrupt. This is his first spring with the team.
Very first spring. Like, he just got there, right? So I've played 3 years now for the previous D coordinator, and I'm thinking, dude, I think he's going to crush me. Coach LeBeau, I usually would get undressed. And he goes, Hokey, he said, listen, that's a really tough read. He goes, just be a little more patient, and you'll be able to sit in there and read through that quarterback, running back, exchange. And I said, okay. And he walked off. And I went, what just happened? Right? So we get into film in between the 2 practices, and we're sitting there, and the play comes up, and I'm sweating. My palms are sweating. I'm going, freaking, I'm going to get crushed here. Mitch is going to be all over me, because Mitch kind of fed off the D coordinator. If Tim Lewis got on me, Mitch would get on me. And the play comes up. Mitch goes, Hokey, and LeBeau goes, hey, Mitch, I already talked to him. We're good. And that was it. We went on the next play. I went, oh, my gosh. It completely changed, though. His coaching style completely changed my career. And if you remember, in 2004 is the year that I started all those games and I had success. And I don't know if I could have played like that my first 3 years.
Wow.
Changed the whole spirit of the unit.
He really did. He was incredible. He was incredible.
Mm-hmm.
What a story, and what a way to kick off the podcast. And let's bring it to present time, though. We've got a team that just had a victory in Atlanta, and today being a Tomlin Tuesday, we had the presser, and we got to start with the quarterback news. Justin Fields performed in place of Russell Wilson, and it sounds like Wilson's going to get the nod here again this weekend because Wilson's still hurt.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's an interesting thing, and I think you guys will both say this. I think that deep down that Tomlin really liked what he saw on Sunday. I think he's starting to turn. I think he wants Fields on the field. Take that, right? Fields on the field. But I really think he does. Don't you think, Wex?
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Fields shows that marvelous athleticism and that beautiful deep ball all the time in practice. And then he shows you the interception to a defensive lineman a play later and goes back for 6, or some kind of weird fumble. He can't take snaps under center for some reason.
No.
And so anyway, also 2 weeks ago, I saw Russell Wilson scramble. Now, I hadn't seen him scramble since the spring. And in the spring, I don't know if you saw him in the spring, Hokie, he looked great. He looked like Russ of old. He was bouncing around like a kid, man. And then that calf came, and we haven't seen it. Finally, I saw him try to scramble, and it's not there. It's not. Yeah. And so I think that's stuck in everyone's mind. And then the calf blows again. And Fields goes out and doesn't make that mistake. He shows all that wonderful talent, but doesn't make the mistake. The recovered snaps, I think they're just going to stop at getting him under center.
Well, listen, he still got positive 3 yards. Right? Right, but that doesn't all happen. But what I'm saying is, I think here's the thing. Tomlin has talked about it. Well, this over the years. He wants a quarterback that's mobile. And he's got a guy who's mobile right now. And yes, Russ was mobile in his earlier years, but now he's got Justin Fields. And Justin Fields makes the difficult look easy and the easy look difficult, in my mind, when it throws the football.
It's a good perspective.
As long as he keeps playing without mistakes, I think the job's his.
Yeah. The frustrating thing is the routine throws, he struggles at times, right? You saw early in the game, he missed Van Jefferson on that first drive. He threw Najee behind Najee. Najee showed some frustration there. That was interesting. Right.
Well, he dropped it too, Chris.
Oh, it was in his back hip. But yeah, I mean, it was a tough catch. Najee probably could have caught that. And then you look at some of the other throws he missed in the game. But those deep throws, the George Pickens, I mean, they were beautiful throws. That one that he threw there at the end of the first half to put him in field goal range was a beautiful throw. And so Tomlin, I'm telling you right now, I think he's saying, hey, Russ, just go ahead and nurse that calf a little bit longer. Just nurse it a little longer. Let's see what Justin Fields can do.
He should. I want to see that mobility he had in the spring. So nurse that thing. Yeah. And then, okay, then if Fields starts making his mistakes, you got a healthy Russ to go back to when the weather gets really cold and the schedule really turns up.
And here's the thing too, Wex, as I've thought more about this, the O-line's struggling and they're growing, right? They're still in preseason form right now. Justin Fields helps mask some of their problems, right? Russ Wilson reminds me, and this is not a bad thing, but he reminds me of Ben in his last couple of years, right? Where he wants to stay in the pocket. He doesn't want to get hit. He really doesn't want to run and scramble. Justin Fields allows them to do some play action, right? Some bootlegs, some naked bootlegs, to move the pocket. He can get in the pocket. If something breaks down, he's able to find the escape lane and get out. Where Russell Wilson, they can't do that as much. Russell Wilson wants to stay in the pocket and throw the football, which doesn't play to some of their weaknesses right now, and they can't mask them like they can with Justin Fields.
It feels like when Fields is in there that there's an element of uncertainty on the defense that they have to account for, because you don't know if he's just going to pull it down and take off and have one of those huge running plays.
Well, I'm telling you, I mean, listen, when it's 3rd and 5, a lot of times in their thing, 3rd medium, okay, this is doable, but it's a little hard. And if you're 3rd and 4 and less, but with Justin Fields, you not only can you throw the ball, but if everybody's covered and you don't. Grady Jackson one time came up from a 3 technique. He worked an inside move on James Daniels, right? He got a little washed inside. There's the escape lane, right? And with a running back like Justin Fields, you can't pin your ears back and just go like the Steelers did against Kirk Cousins. Steelers can't rush against a Justin Fields like they did against Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, he's a statue in the backfield. Literally, it was like, there are older quarterbacks that are like that, and it's easier to get to them. But with Justin Fields, you got to do something that Coach Mitchell used to always say, a mush rush, where you just kind of squeeze the pocket around him so he can't escape and make him throw.
That was Cordell Stewart. That's what they did to Cordell Stewart, mush rush. That's the first time I heard that term. Yeah.
And speaking of the offensive line, Jim, your stat played out last week. Chris, last week, Jim talked about how with a new center, the Steelers were 3-0. Well, they made it 4-0 with Zach Frazier, starting this weekend. Let's talk about his performance and how he did.
Well, listen, I think that he's got a bright future. I don't think that Herbig's going to get his job back. It's Zach Frazier's job for the rest of his career. He was physical. He was tough. The moment didn't look like it was too big for him. I watched him really bully people at times. Been able to play down the line. He's just going to get better, guys. His first game, kind of getting caught up to the NFL speed. But Wex, what I saw from him was a guy who likes to scrap. He's physical, and he's gonna steal people's grass on the defensive side of the ball.
It's so exciting.
Yeah.
Some of that he was a bully.
He was
bully, and I had no problem with that 4th and 1 sneak because of how well he was playing, and how what an athlete Fields is. Yeah. Now, there was some sloppiness to it. I like the fact that they did the hurry up. I like that, because remember when Tom Brady used to do it?
Oh yeah,
he did
it to me. He did it to me.
So the Steelers are incorporating some change of pace, and I like that. So this one didn't work, but I like the thinking behind it. I thought it was a good move, and I thought it paid off.
Yeah, I can see both sides. I liked it too, Wex. I said that on the post-game show. I really thought that in that drive, it was a 13-play, 72-yard drive. And if they would have finished with a field goal, that was a win for the Falcons. That was a win for the Falcons.
It's still within 8, Hokie. If it made it 9, okay.
Yeah, no, I agree.
You get the kickoff, say you get it at the 30, your crowd's revved up, you take it down, you score, you got the momentum, you're going to score it on the 2-point conversion. And then when you got that momentum, you're going to score in overtime.
Well, listen, and I totally agree with you. And if they would have gotten that first down, which they were getting positive yardage, they were really owning the line of scrimmage in that drive. That's what they really the tide turned in that drive in this football game to me in that third quarter. And they were getting moving the line of scrimmage. I thought Mike Tomlin's always going to play the momentum card, right? He's always going to play that momentum. And if I feel I can get this and I can get this first down and we can score, this game's over. Right? This game's over. And our defense, if you go back and look at how well the defense was playing in that third quarter, and then the Steelers defense, they did exactly what happened that he thought would happen, is they didn't get the first down. The defense came on the field, 3 and out, ball back to the offense. I mean, the defense was playing good football, so his cards were stacked pretty high. He knew that if he didn't get it, he had a defense that was going to go out there and dominate and get the ball back to the offense.
And that defense, look, we'll talk defense a little later. That defense looks as good as any I've seen since 2010.
Yeah, really good.
Since Chris Hoke retired.
That's right. That's right.
But no, let's not leave the offensive line, because there's something brewing here. Dan Moore's ankle blew up, Mike Tomlin said today. I don't know if it's going to affect him, but Broderick Jones didn't play so well. And Fautano is ready to play, and Tomlin talked today about how much they liked him before he got injured.
Yeah.
What do you do with the tackle situation, Hokie?
I hear the thing. Well, if I'm the coach, which I'm not, but I think if Dan Moore Jr. can play, he plays.
Yeah.
There's a reason why nobody's beat him out yet. This guy he's risen to the occasion every single time. This offense, I think that kind of Arthur Smith's offense fits him. It's kind of a physical, bully up front kind of offense. That's kind of the kind of player he is. He's not a finesse player. I think Fautano can play both physical and finesse. He's like a dancing bear on his feet playing that tackle spot. I've watched him in some one-on-ones, and I thought, oh, man, what good feet that he had. Broderick Jones, for some reason, he just hasn't caught this, made that jump from year 1 to year 2. I don't know if it's because he kind of bought into the hype after his first year and thought, man, I was the reason why this offensive line turned around, which he was last year. Yeah. But did he not put the time in the offseason? Did he kind of just think that he had arrived? I'm not sure what it is, but he hasn't made that big jump from year 1 to year 2 that you expect. But I think that I just don't see, unless there's an injury, Dan Moore Jr. sitting down, because he had a good game last week, and I think he's just going to keep getting better.
Okay, well, what if there's no injury and you want to play Fautanu?
I think you're going to rotate. It's going to be between Broderick Jones and Fautanu, and I think that they're not going to be able to pay. With those two guys on the roster, Fautanu and Broderick Jones, they're going to let Dan Moore Jr. go, unfortunately. He's going to make big money somewhere else, and they're going to slide Broderick Jones to the left, and they'll roll with those two guys next year.
I mean, this week.
No, if nobody's hurt, if Dan Moore Jr. plays, Dan Moore Jr. plays left tackle, you go with Broderick Jones to the right, and I think you roll in Troy. I don't think Troy will be ready to go right away to play a full game. He's got to maybe roll him in a little bit, let him get a few snaps. But Coach Tomlin made it very clear that he showed us enough in player development that he's a guy that we're gonna put time in and get him out there on the field. He outplayed Broderick Jones in the preseason, so that's why he's saying it.
Yeah, and I just want to hit on Spencer Anderson real fast, filling in for Sayamalo. How did you assess his performance this weekend?
Well, listen, when you watch the film, I don't think it really stood out. He had a couple plays where he got beat. Brady's Jarrett, is a stud. And this guy came back off an injury and was in peak form. But I think overall, he represented himself well. And so, he's not, he's not going to be the starter the whole season. But I'll tell you what, I think he impressed a lot of people and showed that he's got what it takes to fill in when he needs to.
Yeah.
We could go one by one on defense, but I just want to get back to that assessment of the defense being as good as going back to 2010. Yeah. I mean, just tell me your thoughts on that general overview, and maybe where you see some strengths, maybe some weaknesses, what needs bolstered.
Well, let me tell you, first of all, you say it's as good. There's one reason why they're really good. TJ Watt might end up being one of the greatest defensive players of this generation, and maybe of all time when he's done. He's young and he's already breaking records. I mean, this guy's incredible. And think about if those two penalties, the face mask on Dante Jackson, and then the hands of the face and the offsides weren't called, he would have had 2 additional strip sacks. Now, those might have played into him being pissed off, playing the way he played, right? But still, you add those in there, and you're talking one of the greatest games of all time. So you have, and there are guys on the defense that played okay. They got to play better when you look at the film. But you can mask a lot of problems when you have a TJ Watt screaming off that side, that side, the left side, and making plays. And it's incredible to watch them.
You know what else they have? I mean, we know about Minka.
Yeah.
Joey Porter Jr. is a legitimate lockdown dude.
Yeah, he played well. And I want him to get better in the run game. But in the pass game, he's good. Right? If he can keep his hands to himself and not get too handsy, he's going to be a top-notch corner in this league. I want to see him get better playing with leverage in the run game, coming up and keeping everything inside. A couple times they came off and he got sucked inside and they were able to run outside where he's got to have force, bring it back to his teammates in the run game. But I think what you're talking about, he has a chance to be a legit number 1 at lockdown cornerback in the NFL.
Peyton Wilson. I mean, Jeremy, you probably want to get into Peyton Wilson.
That's what I was going to bring up. Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so just talking about some of the new faces on the team, Peyton Wilson, Beanie Bishop, both played well, but Peyton Wilson really stood out at inside backer.
Yeah, listen, I thought that he would get a lot more snaps in this game like he did. He played as much or more than Landon. I didn't go back and look at the snap count. You probably know that, Wex, but I think he outplayed all the linebackers. I think he was the best linebacker on the field.
He was, and I was surprised by the snap count too, because he was practicing so much.
Yeah.
He was in everything.
He was.
And Queen had 56 and Wilson 24 and Roberts 23. Yeah, that surprised me.
So 50-50. The thing is, he outplayed. If you look at the stat sheet though here, Wex, I mean, you look right now, Queen had 2 tackles, right?
In 56 snaps.
In 56 snaps. And you had Peyton Wilson, who had 3 tackles and half.
In half the sack. Less than half. Yeah.
Yep. And he's just going to keep getting better, right? I thought Patrick Queen was in preseason form. he missed a tackle on Bijan Robinson one time. One time he was scraping and he didn't see. Another time Bijan Robinson, I think it was like a third down and didn't see him. And he went for a first down. I think that he is going to get better. I don't think he represented the way he wanted to represent in this game, and he'll see that, and you'll see a much better game against the Broncos on Sunday.
I agree, and I think we'll see a better game from Benton too.
Yeah. Benton, I was surprised. That's the word I'll use. I was surprised at how he played. I thought he would be a much better player in this game. He got knocked off the ball. He got bullied a little bit in this game. Let's be honest. And I think sometimes what happens, as I watched the film, Wex, he was trying to make plays, right? There was a big run in the game when Tyler Algier went for like 13 yards in the first drive. You remember that? 13, 14 yards. Ben was in there at the right DN position. I think he was in there for Cam because Montravius Adams was at nose tackle. And he was in the 3 technique on the outside shoulder of the guard. And the guard base blocked him, kind of reached me a little out the outside. And Benton came inside. He swam inside, and Algier hit that gap and went for 13, 14 yards. That's his play. Stay in your gap. Keep pushing. And I think that in this game, he's trying to make plays too much, which made him play high, made him play soft. And he got behind blocks. And when he was moving at times, he would come behind 2 guys and would get way out of his gap. That happened way too many times for a guy of his kind of talent. I'm sure that he's getting beat up on film. Or if he doesn't beat himself up, the coaches are getting on him, and he'll be much better against the Broncos as well.
Yeah. I liked what I saw from Beanie. He looked like he belonged out there.
Yeah.
He's physical, and we know he's fast. He timed in the 4 threes. I think they found themselves a ball player right there.
I do. I think so too. I was looking at that play where the touchdown pass to Kyle Pitts. I think that was on him, and I could be wrong, but
I think you're wrong.
Am I wrong?
I talked to Beanie, and I said, Beanie, I know you're a rookie. I know you're not going to blame someone else, but you know how it looks. We all out here, we see the number next to the guy, and we say it has to be the guy closest to him.
Sure.
And he said, we're in zone. And he smiled like
somebody wasn't over the top then, because he sat in that zone.
Yeah.
Well, he was supposed to take the guy in front of him, so he was kind of played in the middle. We had a guy go through the all-22 tape and talk about it on the message board. He wasn't convinced that it was Deshaun Elliott's fault, but he thinks it was.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. That's called not biting the cheese, right? So Coach Butts used to always talk about that, Keith Butler. Don't bite the cheese, right? Because what happens is when you have somebody underneath you as a zone player, if you come up and play tight on that one underneath, it's because there's somebody behind you, right? And so you got to stay back, make them dump the ball off, then come break and give them a 3, 4, 5 yard gain versus throwing over your head and go for 15, right? So Beanie, what you're talking about, Beanie wasn't biting the cheese. He was playing a little depth there, going to break on the catch. So that's great. That's a veteran move for a rookie. And you could be right. I mean, I haven't dug deep into that play yet. And I would believe him. I think, I love the fact that he said we were in zone, but he didn't sell anybody out. He knows exactly who made the mistake, right? And better there.
You know me, Hoke. I'm not going to press a kid.
No.
I don't need that information.
Well,
I can tell from him that he didn't think it was his fault. And the guy watching the all-22, and maybe you'll check it out.
I will.
There were 4 Falcon receivers and only 3 Steeler defenders. Somebody didn't come over.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that play in depth yet. I still got it. We're only 2 days in since the game, but that doesn't surprise me. It just looked like it was him, right? Because he was the only guy over there, and he's a rookie, right? And so you're thinking, okay, it's a rookie, and he's the only guy over there. It's got to be him, right? That's lazy report. That's lazy analysis, if you will, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I told him we're all lazy, Beanie, and that's how we look at it. And he said, you know what? One of the things I've bought into here that I've learned is don't listen to what goes on outside the building. No. We know what happened. And he smiled. He was very confident with that interview. I think he's real comfortable. The guys who grow up here get comfortable with the media. For the most part, the Pittsburgh media is not looking to make stuff up.
Yeah. And by and large, Pittsburgh media is fair, right? They call balls and strikes. They don't have an agenda. They're not trying to get after people. Largely, right? Maybe over the decades it's happened, but largely they call balls and strikes, and they're fair reporters. And I think that's what these guys know that are local.
But what's funny is the guys that get traded here, they're mistrusting the whole. I remember Mwelde Moore was one of the most brightest, insightful guys, but man, he did not want to talk.
Really?
And I think he missed because he was a good player, remember?
He was, yeah.
I really like I like Moel. We called him the creeper, but Moeldy Moore was he was a nice guy. I really liked Moeldy. We had a lot of good players back then, Wex. I'll tell you what.
I know.
I like Moeldy.
I like this roster too, and I like the character in this locker room. I like the last two rookie classes, and TJ. TJ's not going to put up with any nonsense anywhere.
No, he doesn't.
I think and Joey Porter Jr. is cool, and it's just good dudes.
Good dudes. I'll tell you another guy that I'd like to see more from is Alex Highsmith. Right? He sat up the whole preseason. He got the star treatment, right? Making a lot of money. He's a big physical guy. I'd like to see him more of a disruptor in the backfield. I mean, again, you look at his stat line here. I mean, he had 5 tackles, but 1 tackle, 4 assisted, right? But no sacks, no TFLs, no QB hits. And so when you look at that, he had the 1 QB hit, but he was offsides on that. So I think the Steelers need more out of him in the game.
Well, I think people are going to look at the tape and TJ taking a bow at the end, and they're going to say, we got to put 2-3 guys over there. It's going to help Alex.
Yeah.
And Nick Herbig. They got that 3 outside linebacker. They call it the Rondo package.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of that, though. I've seen TJ Watt play when he plays in the middle. Go back and look at the film. I don't know if I can count 1 or 2 times when he's made a play when TJ's in the middle. It's all about a distraction.
TJ's not in the middle in that package.
Not anymore, but he was in years past, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think he has done that in the past, where it's kind of like the guy who kind of just flows. You know what I'm talking about? And and I think that's the guy. Now, Herbig's that guy. I just don't see. He is an exciting player to watch.
Yes.
Exciting. Yeah. I just love I love his acceleration. I love his energy. And is he a smart player, and he has really good moves. Yeah. I think he's a guy that, if given the opportunity, could really excel if he was able to get 40, 50 plays a game.
Yeah. I tried my hardest to get him on the field as the inside linebacker. Well, last year when they were checking Walmart, baggers to come and play for them, I kept saying to Terrell, remember Chad Brown? This kid is Chad Brown. Put him at inside linebacker. Get him on the field. Sure.
No, I agree. And I think he's the Steelers really value him. I mean, they really, really value that kid.
Yeah. Well, it was a great start to the season. Steelers get a win. Their opponents in the AFC North all drop a game, and now they head into Denver. Fields is probably going to be the starter with the Wilson injury. Thoughts on next week's game?
I just think it's every week it's harder, right? And the Broncos are going to be better coming off a loss. They want to get in the win column. Bo Nix is going to have another week of film to watch, and you'll see him improve from 1 to 2. And so Tomlin struggled against the Broncos for one reason or another. We're going out there. I think there's going to be a tough game. I see the Steelers playing better, but the Broncos too. I don't know, man. I don't know how you see this team doing out there, the Steelers, but I think this is going to be a tougher game than last week.
Well, they didn't blitz last week, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to blitz a rookie quarterback, right?
No question.
And Patrick Queen's the best part of his game is blitzing. I think he's going to bounce back with the blitz on a rookie quarterback. Yeah. I think the defense is going to be there again for him. Yeah, It'd be nice to see what Cameron Johnston could do in the Mile High air. Launch a couple 80 yarders. I feel bad. Yeah.
Terrible deal, man. Terrible deal. And Miles could have stepped over and taken on that block. And again, talk about lazy. It was kind of a lazy block, right? Lazy. He could have stepped over and gotten him.
He told me that the guy launched when he launched very late.
Yeah, but you don't take on a blocker from the side, right? Step up, square him up. And I think, sometimes a guy like Miles, who is phenomenal on special teams, we give him a lot of flexibility, if you will, right? We benefit of the doubt and leeway. And I think on that one, he could have been much better. I think if he had, looking at that film, being honest, he said, I could have done that better. And plus he did launch, but
look at Chris Hoke giving a hard edge to the Pittsburgh media. I'm trying to give him an excuse.
No, listen, let's just be real though. I think if you talk about fundamentals 101, and I think if they were honest, and I think if they would tell you that. I mean,
Okay.
you can't take on a blocker on the side. You got to square him up.
Well, that's why you're really, really valuable to us, Chris Hoke, and the entire Pittsburgh media. Your star is just starting to rise, buddy.
Oh, thank you. You're too
Yeah.
kind.
I tell you what, I know you got some. I know all your kids are playing a high level athletics at North Allegheny
North Allegheny High School. Yeah.
and BYU, right?
Yeah, I got one at BYU, I got 3 kids at BYU right now. So one on the gymnastics team and one on the football team.
All right.
Awesome.
Well,
That's so great. You didn't get into coaching. You stayed home and coached your own kids, raised them, and you got a great family. And we're all proud of you, Hokie, that you're a Pittsburgher now.
Well, Wex, let me tell you something, man. I learned from guys like you, man. I had a really good relationship with guys in the media, and you and I talked all the time, if you remember. It was always helpful for me, and to see how you guys are professional and see how you guys handle yourself. It made a tremendous impact on me and how I handle my business today. So thank you.
Thank you, Hokie. That's appreciated.
Absolutely.
Well, Chris, we appreciate you coming on the show, episode 123. We hope to have you back on here
Anytime,
again
brother.
sometime.
Anytime, brother. I'd love to do it.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it, everyone. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you back here next week, hopefully discussing another Steelers victory in episode 124. Gentlemen, have a great rest of your week.
Take care, brother.
All right, take care.
Take care.